To comprehend the new that is coming is to comprehend radical change, is to comprehend radical change. A wall that was thought to be there, a wall that was thought to be there, and all the things the wall had claimed, and all of the things that the walls had claimed. This is separate, that is separate, this is separate, that is separate, this is good, this is good, this is not good, this is not good, this is high, this is low, this is high, this is low. All the ways of mandating what reality should be, all of the ways of mandating what reality should be is actually falling, cascading, and what your first impulse will always be, and what your first impulse will always be is to try to sustain the wall, is to try to sustain the wall and all of the creations born from it, and all of the creations born from it. Now understand what we just said. Now understand what we just said. All of the creations born from it, all of the creations born from it, born from the walls, born from the wall of separation. That must include things like hierarchies. That must include things like hierarchies, the idea of plenty, and lack, all born in ideas of separation, all born in ideas of separation. When something simply is, when something simply is, without a codified name, without a codified name, a moral equivalency attached, way of deciding what is good or bad, a way of deciding whether it is good or bad. You have come to an awareness. You have come to an awareness of what source really is, There is an impartiality to source. There is an impartiality to source, not in a negative way, but in neutrality, that can be understood, that can be understood and fully experienced, The wall is simply the wall. The wall is simply the wall. It has its function. Neither good nor evil, And we said that the wall is falling. When we say that the wall is falling, the wall is indeed energy. The wall is indeed energy, but a manufactured energy in this case. Something was erected by you, as a collective over millennium, to decide who you were in relation to an idea of God, in relationship to an idea of God. Notice we said idea of God. Notice we said idea of God, not God itself, but the idea of it. Not God itself, but the idea of it, which is the best you can manage, My idea of God. My idea of God is someone who will give me what I want when I behave very well, My idea of God, is someone who will spite those awful people, or something that will hurt others, or something that will hurt others because they right well deserve it, Your ideas of God, born in ideas of old, a man in a cloud, a man in a cross, a monkey flying across the sky, all have great merit, but in fact are emblems, are ways of trying to understand, and solidify an expression, whether you can see in a way that you can see. The only mistake here is that everything you see is of God, and consequently an expression of it, whether you call it by this name or that, whether you call it by this name or that. Now, what is attached to this wall? Of separation many things. Most of the ideas of fear are claimed in separation, God cannot be in this awful thing. I have been abandoned yet again. And then you have a God that abandons. God is love. You say, God is love. You say, well, why don't I know love? If indeed God is love, If God is the church, why does the church do these things? And I cannot agree to. If God is a man on a cross, where the hell is he? When we certainly need him. Now the man on the cross was a depiction, a realization, of the divine monad, come as form, and indeed a way shower, but the Christ principle, which is the monad, enacted in fullness, is realization, the way that was shown by that man, and the way that was shown by that man to realization was confused by the doctrines that supported him, none of which he chose, but were actually claimed by others, To realize Christ is to realize the true self, and the true self we can call the monad, or the divine principle, or the divine principle, the divine spark, in activation. When a spark is activated, it flames. When the flame encompasses the thing it holds, the thing it holds is purified. The thing it holds is purified, is cleansed, is indeed made new, is indeed made new. The radical departure here from doctrine, is the manifest form, is the manifest form that you have actually taken, It's not separate from God, is not separate from God. The body is not separate from God. The body is not separate from God. It's an expression of God. It is an expression of God occupying space and time in a shared construct. In a shared construct we call the common field. You call reality as you know it. You call reality as you know it. When the form is risen, which simply means operating in an amplified state, which simply means operating in an amplified state, or a higher tone of being, the body itself becomes conduit. The body itself becomes conduit for the vibration of the divine, but the refinement of the body. But the refinement of the body has several progresses that it must undertake. What do you use those words? He asked, why did you use those words? He asked. We would say progression. But progresses is fine. Because the form progresses. Through the amplification of the divine spark, as expressed through you, as it expresses through you. These things occur in what we call the upper room. These things occur in what we call the upper room, and for only one reason, the lack of density in the upper room. The lack of density in the upper room affords you the principle to activate at a level of tone that the common field disallows, and even disavows. It cannot be so. It will not be so. The divine cannot come in form. You have to wait till you drop the body. You have to wait till you drop the body, till there is a heaven I may know, as was prescribed or described or described by those who came before me. Realization, true knowing comes at the cost of the old, and the body itself. And the body itself in a remembered state, simply becomes the expression of the mind, but in operation, oscillation claims what it encounters in like accord. Underline those two words, like accord, vibrational accord, equivalency in tonal frequency. Now imagine you're singing a high note. You are singing a high note. The high note that you are singing gives others permission to sing that note. Gives others permission to sing that note who did not know that they could. When the vibrational field, assuming the body begins to play at this level of tone, it actually claims all that it encounters. In like vibrational accord. It actually lifts matter. Because you've stopped denying the divine in matter, because you have stopped denying the divine in matter. Do you understand this simple idea? If the body is not holy, if God does not come as a body, if God does not come as the body, how could the God be the sky? How could God be the sky, or the tree in the field, or the tree in the field, or the fish in the sea, or the fish in the sea? When God is all these things, God simply is. God is. This realization, tonal agreement, reclaims the vibration of the plane of existence, reclaims the vibration of the plane you exist upon, and realize, which is know through your experience here. To become this equivalency is to incarnate as the divine self in form and field. Now some of you get confused here. Well, then who am I? In fact, you are always been. In fact, you are who you have always been, and can only be in truth. I know who I am in truth. You are not configuring this. You're not buying a new outfit as the divine self. You're not buying a new outfit as the divine self. You're not calling your children by funny names. Here is the heir to my kingdom. Here is the heir to my kingdom. Little God and bigger God. Little God and bigger God. And God in the carriage over there. And God in the carriage over there. There's still Priscilla and Agnes. They are still Priscilla and Agnes and Philip as they were 2 days ago. They are who they are. But you know them beyond their names. names, but you know them beyond their names because you realize the fullness of them, because you realize the fullness of them as wonderful, unique expressions, as wonderful, unique expressions of the source come in a body that has been named Philip and Agnes, that has been named Philip and Agnes and Priscilla. They are all the same. They are all the same, all unique, and of one field and of one field.